everyone rolling in. Thank you all for giving up a little bit of time this evening to come along. We've got an action-packed session for you. We've got some amazing guest speakers lined up, and hopefully by the end of it, you're feeling nice and inspired to continue some of the amazing work that we've been able to do here at Movember, and hearing from some really influential figures out there in the community. So a quick introduction. My name's Jake Lambert. I work in community fundraising at Movember. I get to do a lot of work with our amazing supporters. Movember turns 18 this year, and we're so stoked to continue to be so well supported amongst our local Australian community. Movember was an idea that was started in Melbourne, and now has grown to 20 countries worldwide, over 6 million Mo Bros and Mo Sisters who come together to help us change the face of men's health. So certainly aware that our local community has built Movember into this amazing men's health movement, and to be sharing the virtual room with you tonight is an absolute honour. Before we get stuck too far into it, Movember acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So as I mentioned, we do have two amazing guest speakers lined up, which is, I can't wait to hear these guys speak. It's been a little over a year since we did a similar sort of event, and we're wrapped that Barbiere have chosen to come back and help support Movember again in 2021. We know it's a good time. We know that having conversations save lives, and last year the Barbiere group challenge, which included people from all over Australia, barbershops, head office, all those sort of things, raised over $22,000 for Movember, which was absolutely epic, and we love that. And to be working closely with the team again is absolutely fantastic. So to kick things off, it's an absolute honour to be able to sit front row virtually here to hear from someone who I can't get enough of when they speak. Nasir Sobhani is better known as the Streets Barber. He's got an incredible following and an incredible story as well. So to pass over to him to jump in and take the mic and set the course for this evening, Nasir.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for the offer. I'm kind of looking a little bit like I just came out of a hospital room. In a way I kind of have, but it was just a tattoo laser removal. So I've got burn marks all over my neck, hence why I look like this, just giving you guys all a understanding of why I'm looking like a mummy. But yeah, I mean, this is just an awesome opportunity just to kind of hang out and talk to people about such a great cause, and such an important cause too, you know, mental health. I think that the stigma around mental health, you know, is been obviously being shifted towards more of a open and more positive kind of light compared to how it used to be before. You know, mental health just meant automatically you're crazy, and other than that, you know, it just doesn't make sense. But like physical health, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to die or you've got cancer. You can just have a cold or a flu. You know what I mean? And that's just the same with mental health. I think that someone told me this not long ago. So I was on a panel with a bunch of people, and we were talking about mental health. And one of them is Matt Runels. He does a lot of stuff for mental health, specifically with bipolar disorder, because he himself has bipolar and has been on the verge, you know, of suicide. Tried committing a couple times too, and had some really dark days. And this guy's been in the trenches, you know what I mean, of depression and struggles. And I was listening to a podcast, and he was just talking about it recently, actually. You know, and just when I heard him speak on the panel and met him in person, he was just such a beaming light, full of enthusiasm, and just making sure every day he gives it 110%. But he said something very powerful, you know, and this may be controversial, but he goes, you know, this whole concept of struggling with mental health, you know, and he goes, cut that shit right out. Stop saying you struggle with it. And people openly online are talking about how they struggle with mental health this, they struggle with mental health that. And he goes, it doesn't have to be a struggle. You can live with it. You know, you can live with mental health. It sucks and it's going to be hard, but the second you start saying struggle, you're going to make it seem like it's so hard, you know, and then you're choosing yourself to become defeated by something that you don't need to be defeated by. You got to wake up every single day and you got to understand that this is who you are at the moment and you're going to work through it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily crumble because of it. And I was thinking to myself, someone who would have listened to him talk about that, you know, may not have really understood that he's being empathetic, but this guy's the most empathetic guy towards it because he has seen, like I said, the darkest days in his life. So he's not being empathetic to people who haven't struggled. And he's not saying it's not hard, but he's saying with that hardness, you can still come, you know, with a sense of victory and positivity. And I've been trying to use that a lot, especially nowadays with COVID. Just that mentality, you know, and it's just being presented with the stuff that I've been given. It's been hard, so difficult. And I know people are struggling a lot. They've been losing motivation tremendously. And you know, it's easy for people to be like, oh, just get over it. Or it's not that hard, man. You can just be better or change your perspective and be grateful, you know, and it's not that easy. You know, it was like me when I was suffering with drug addiction. Oh man, just sober up. All right, thanks, bro. Appreciate your advice. You know, like it's that easy. But, you know, like I invite you guys to explore the idea that stuff like this that comes into our lives, this adversity and this hardship that we deal with can be honestly like viewed and appreciated as the biggest blessing. If you think about nature and the laws of science, everything that needs renewal, strength, or rejuvenation has to go through some form of hardship, breaking down, turmoil. If you think about it, like we talk about gold, right? If you want to make gold pure, you got to throw it into the fire for it to burn away its impurities. If you want a tree to grow really, really, you know, well, or any kind of plant or whatever, you've got to prune its branches. You've got to cut them off. If you want the soil to be fertile for it to grow some amazing crops, you've got to literally plow the earth, dig it upside down. You go to the gym and you want to lift some weights. What happens? You rip apart your muscles for them to grow back harder. So we're talking about everything. You're talking about a butterfly and then going from a caterpillar. It goes into that uncomfortable cocoon and it has to stretch out and become something completely different. At the end of the day, you know, like every time there's adversities or hard times, you got to just appreciate that, man, this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful growth. And that's what I've been trying to do every single day that I'm waking up with this whole COVID thing, you know. Never in my whole entire life am I going to have the opportunities that I have now. Maybe I'm going to have harder opportunities or it's going to be, but not this specific opportunity. And yeah, I've lost a lot of motivation. I've lost a lot of momentum. But you know what I do every single day? I myself, I believe in God, right? But not everyone believes in God. I'm sure they have some kind of belief that there is something, whether it's the universe or whether it's energy. I'm sure that everyone kind of can, you know, familiarize themselves with a similar mentality. But the first thing I do back in the day was just go on my phone, right? Obviously, that's what we do. We just go on our phone, check our Instagram, check Facebook, whatever it is, and then we just kind of lay in bed for the next few minutes and just get on with our day. The first thing I do is set my tone and my intention for the day, right? Instead of getting on my phone, which I always end up doing like for a second, and I put it back down. I set my tone by connecting with this higher power, whatever you want to call it, and setting my tone with the day. I either like meditate, I pray, I do whatever I got to do, but that sets my tone for the day. And then I reflect on what I did yesterday, how I can make today better than that. I choose 1, 2, 3 things maybe, whether it's speak nicely about a certain person to the next time I speak about them, or try not to use such foul language or whatever the hell it is. Like I just choose one thing that next day. And then the third thing that I do is I make sure I do something positive for that day, whether it's clean my room, organize my closet, go for a walk, clean my dishes, whatever it is. It's so simple. I set my tone by connecting with this higher power, and then I choose how I can make today better than yesterday, and that's it. And then do one positive thing that can kind of check me off a list. And those things have been helping me so much with motivation, keeping my head straight, and honestly going on the right path. It may seem like a lot, but for me in the past, whenever I had so many things to do, I felt overwhelmed and I gave up. But now it's just like as simple as just do one thing. That's all you got to do, one thing every day. That's positive. It's not that hard at all. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can even be do 10 push-ups. Just check it off. At least get into the momentum that every day you're doing something positive. For me, those things have really helped me get my motivation and my momentum back. But as a barber, I have something completely different. You know, I have an opportunity to be with customers every 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. And in those 45 minutes, I have the opportunity to make that person who's in the chair feel so much happier than they did before they came in. And when you make someone else happy, I can promise you from everything that's good to my name, it does something for your heart. It does something for your spirit. It makes you feel so much better. And anytime I felt sad or depressed, and I use that term loosely, but, really disheartened, and I can't get myself out of the slump. I'm telling you, the one thing that I love to do is try to make someone else feel better. Because that happiness you can bring someone else does a lot for you, for them. And just, it really, really helps alleviate any of your own issues, any of your own negativities, any of your own sadnesses. Because that energy becomes so contagious. That person's happiness becomes so contagious. And it just reflects off, your heart. It makes you feel so rejuvenated. And then it may slowly start that shift of feeling sad to, okay, being grateful. So I invite you guys and girls, of course, or anyone, thems, to next time they have an opportunity to go and make someone happy, if you're feeling kind of sad and you can't get yourself out of it. Simple as making someone, checking in on someone, calling someone, opening the door for someone, or helping someone take their groceries to the car, paying for someone's meal or coffee before they're next in line, doing something like that. I promise you, it does something for you. And if you do that and you don't feel there's a slight change in your happiness, message me. I really want to talk about it with you somehow on Instagram or Facebook or whatever you want. You guys can find me easy, the Streets Barber. But what I'm trying to get at is that it's a guarantee, because it's the one thing that's helped me all my life. For me, like looking up to people and trying to be like someone that I wasn't for so many years, as well, it always made me lose myself, because I was going so far away from who I really am. You get me? So when you're trying to be someone you're not, when you're trying to be like this person and that person, you're not allowing yourself to be you, who you really are. And when you don't want to be you and you're trying so hard to be like someone else, you start to lose yourself, because you're going further and further away from who you really are, right? And so once I realized who I am, and I recognized my talents or my skills or my passions, which was in cutting hair, I used that into benefiting others, right? So I didn't just cut hair for myself, but I cut hair to actually benefit and serve other people. And when I started to do that, I would wake up in the morning with like feeling purpose in my life. It just gave my life a lot of purpose. And if you think about it, living a life of purpose, if you reverse those words, is the purpose of life, and we overcomplicate it a lot. But for me, once I figured that out, it just made so much sense. And so for me, to tell you guys what I feel the purpose of life is to recognize your talents and to recognize what you're good at, to recognize your passions and to recognize what you've been gifted with, whether it's been something you've acquired since birth or something you've learned over time or something you went to school for, whatever it is. You guys are all good at something. It's impossible to say you're not good at something. It's impossible. Okay? I'm not saying you have to be great, just be good. And then use that into benefiting people. That's all you got to do. Because then after you do that, you realize your life has purpose. You're here fulfilling your role in life. And when you feel like your life has purpose and you're recognizing the purpose of life, it just motivates you to keep going. So those are the things that I invite you to do. Recognize your talents, recognize your skill sets, recognize what you're good at. Use that to benefiting others. You can do that in your workplace. You can do that outside of your workplace. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. The sky's the limit, really, when it comes to it. And if you're finding yourself struggling with momentum right now, wake up in the morning, set your intention, humble yourself before the universe, the creator, a higher power, whatever it is. Reflect on how you can make today better than yesterday. And then set your tone by doing one positive thing for the day that's for your own self, like cleaning up, walking, exercise, finishing off a task, doing a chore. Those things, man, I'm telling you, has just been such an upway hill for me into feeling so much better and motivated in my life. And it's really helping with my mental health. And I'm sure that you guys, will hopefully take on, maybe one person will take on the things that I've said and just realize the benefits. And I hope you guys all take on that whenever you guys are feeling kind of a little bummed out or upset and you can't get yourself out of a slump, just go off and try to help someone else as soon as possible. Because if you can't bring yourself happiness, you can definitely bring someone else, you know? So really want to thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm just poured my heart out, you know what I mean, right now. So yeah, I'm sure you guys probably really, really grateful to have actually Tom speak to you guys too. Hearing his story and knowing what he's all about is going to be kind of exciting. So I'm really grateful once again for the opportunity, guys. And we're all going to be all right. You know what I mean? I hope so. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely some tangible takeaways there. I know that people will be picking up on. Thank you so much for being so open, so honest, so candid as you always are, and it's always an honour to be virtually sitting alongside you. So thank you so much again, man.
Thanks, y'all. And if anyone ever needs to reach out, once again, like I said, reach out to me, and let me just try to offer what I can at any time. Cool, guys. Thanks.
Amazing. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of requests there. I'm sure then they'll be flooding in the DMs.
Appreciate you.
Moving through, as Nasir mentioned, we do have another amazing guest speaker on the line here tonight too. And I've done a little bit of work over the journey with Tom Boyd. And when we speak about experience and being candid and open and honest and sharing to hopefully lighten the burden on other people, Tom certainly always comes straight to my mind. So an absolute pleasure to have former AFL player and now mental health advocate Tom Boyd on the call as well with us. Tom, welcome. If you wanted to open up by telling us a little bit around your story with mental health and how you had to deal with it throughout the professional AFL career and how that all came to a head.
Thanks, Jake. Good to be here. Nasir, it was great to hear you speak as well. Look, we obviously don't have that much time tonight, so I won't go into extraordinarily excruciating detail when it comes to my story. But, my background is in professional football, initially with the GWS Giants, then later with the Western Bulldogs, where I was lucky enough to be a part of a premiership side in 2016. And I vividly remember joining the AFL off the back of, finishing school, year 12, the draft process, everything's going really well. You've got this great connection between your schooling, your academics. It's really lucky to grow up with a good family. And then within 10 days, your life's changed completely. So I finished my final school exam Wednesday afternoon. The next Thursday, I'm getting drafted. The Monday after that, I'm starting my first AFL preseason training session in Sydney. And, from an initial stage, I found that first and foremost, I just started to struggle with missing the things that I was really used to in terms of structure. I didn't have my schooling. I didn't have my support networks. I definitely missed being at home in Victoria, but it was something more than that. And it started to show itself first and foremost with me not being able to sleep. I started to really struggle to get to sleep. Then after a while of combining late nights with a full-time training schedule that was harder than anything I'd ever done, I started to really struggle to feel joy. I really struggled to connect with other people. And then I started to feel anxious all the time. And that would manifest its way into my social life, where I didn't want to hang out with people. I didn't want to talk to other people, spend a lot of time on my own. And I was all trying to find the energy back in my life just so I could put it back into my job, which was obviously playing football. And then halfway through my first season, I decided that, maybe if I'm feeling this way, I keep getting told I'm homesick, maybe I should move back to Victoria. And in a short whirlwind period of time, I get offered one of the biggest contracts in AFL history, $7 million, 7 years. I'm 18 years old, played 5 games of AFL footy, and the Dogs just take a massive punt on me. And I think first and foremost, wow, it's a shitload of money. So full caveat, that's exactly why I went. But I also thought, if I can get back to Victoria, I can get close to my family and friends. If I can get back to Victoria, I can find some of that sort of connection outside of the footy club, some bit more balance, a bit more of a relationship between my life and what I was doing as a job. But unfortunately, what I found was that, things just started to get worse and worse over the next couple of years. And then straight after the premiership, 21 years old, getting paid $1 million a year, do this job that I first started dreaming of doing when I was 3 or 4. I find myself in the biggest hole of my life. I haven't slept in weeks. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not doing anything but going to a training. And even that's just gone to absolute hell. And I remember being in this really significant part of my life where I realized a couple of things. The first thing was that I couldn't keep just pretending like things were going to change. I couldn't just keep pretending like my mental health or my life or my relationship with my job or all of the, externalities and issues I was facing was just going to turn around and change in a heartbeat. And I actually need to do something about it. Now, with 1,000 thoughts a second running through my head, luckily the one that stuck was that I can't deal with this on my own. And so in what was the most important phone call of my life, I picked up the phone and called the club psychologist. And for the first time, I admitted that I had a problem that I really needed help with. And in doing so, I did a few things. First and foremost, I admitted, took the first step to solving any problem by admitting that I actually had one. And secondarily, I think the immediate relief that I felt actually talking to someone who didn't care about how many kicks, marks, or handballs I got on the weekend. They only really cared about my health and well-being primarily and ultimately. And that gave me just a sense that someone was in my corner. Now, I've continued that relationship with her over a long period of time. And in different phases of my life, having someone like Lisa, my psychologist, in my corner has provided different roles. But one of the things that she's helped me with is obviously going through this journey that I have been and finding, to Nasir's point of view, a perspective that just because you're having a bad day, not letting it turn into a bad week and not letting that bad week turn into a bad month and not letting it spiral out of control to the point where you are in a really tough place and you don't give yourself a whole heap of options. And in fact, going the other way around it, which is get on the front foot and try and access the support, whether it be through Movember, through the countless amounts of support frameworks that are within Victoria and Australia more broadly, or even just picking up the phone and talking to a friend who just cares about you as a person. And as hard as that is the first time, it was probably the most powerful and important step in my journey to actually just addressing what was going on and making steps to change it. Jake.
Awesome, thank you. As you said, we could probably talk all night, but yeah, to even just get the condensed version of that is amazing. I want to speak to you around, the last year and a half that we've all gone through and experienced in a variety of different ways. How have you managed to either reach out or stay connected with family and friends during what's been a really difficult period for so many?
Yeah, I suppose for a context point of view, the actual experience first and foremost, Jake. So start of 2020, I retired from AFL football in 2019. I sort of started working a lot, doing a lot of this sort of thing, obviously in person, which has been a bit of a strange thing to think about. I'd connected back to community football. I'd started working with a number of different organisations to try and support their mental health and community frameworks. I'd gone back to uni. I'd sort of set everything up. I'd done everything that I knew was important for me in terms of capturing what I wanted to do with my life. And then, of course, much like, probably everyone in the room, COVID hits and your whole life gets turned upside down. My uni gets shut down, my job, my income goes away. I've just moved out of my house and then I've got to move back. And, what I found was that, a lot of those support frameworks that, we always preach are important are actually, predicated on the decisions made by other people, whether that be community sport, whether that be going down to the local park at times. We're not even allowed out of our houses. And what I learned more than anything was that even with all of those restrictions, there are a certain small few things that are within our purview that we can control every single day. And, for Nasir, it might be grounding himself. For me, it's exercise. First thing I do is get up in the morning, I either run or I walk every day. And the reason why I do that is because if I don't, midway through the day, I'm cooked. I can't think straight. I don't feel like I've accomplished something. And especially when all of that infrastructure that I'd put into my life in terms of, connection and community and exercise and all of that stuff disappeared, that was the thing I could control. And from there, I started to be able to build on that by, in the long way of answering your question, Jake, by reaching out to people who specifically had businesses who were really struggling. got a few friends who own hospitality places, and a few friends who were playing AFL football still and were stuck in a hub that they weren't allowed out of for 100 days. I know it sounds sort of like a bit rich given the fact that many people were in worse positions, but I know that a lot of my friends were struggling. And what I found was that it actually just gave me a sense of actually feeling better about myself, that I was actually reaching out and connecting with them. And as time went on, you connect it in every time that something happens, or you just get on a regular schedule in terms of making sure that they know that if something is awry in their life, or that if they need something, that you're there for them. And the reason why that's so important in many of the situations we find ourselves in is that, at least in my opinion, the solution to a problem is often actually created far before the problem even gets there. And by that, I mean that having relationships with the people who you care about in your life that can actually foster a conversation as difficult as like, hey, I'm really struggling at the moment, I need a hand. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of obviously just creating an environment with your mates to say, look, if you're struggling, I'm not saying I'm going to understand it. I'm not saying I'm going to, solve your problems for you. But I'm going to be there for you if you need me, and for whatever I can do to support you, I'm going to be there to do that. And I think that's a fundamental part, and a fundamental message that Movember likes to put out there.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. With your own well-being, sort of moving forward, and as aware of it as you are now, you did touch on how important exercise is for you. What other techniques do you adopt to ensure that your own well-being remains a priority?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, and look, I'm not here to tell you I get it right all the time. We all make decisions that don't contribute to a positive state of well-being. That's 100% for sure. So there's a few things that I do. I mean, I've sort of outlined a few of them, Jake, but I would call them all things that tie me to the ground, for want of a better metaphor. And by that I mean is that it's connection with people who I care about, who care about me, whether that be family, friends, teammates, fellow students, colleagues, whoever it is. I think every community that you involve yourself in is just another safety net when things are potentially going poorly for you. Exercise is a huge one, and to lean back onto the first point, I speak to my psychologist once a week. Now, I'm a proponent for psychologists, but I'm not here to not understand that A, they're expensive, and B, not everyone has access to them. But the way I utilize Lisa in my case is, when things are going poorly, she helps me navigate them. And when things are going really well, she can often just be a sounding board for whether I want to, do something different with my work, or I want to help more people, or I want to, navigate a personal relationship challenge, whatever it is. It's just having someone that I know intimately knows my life situation and can give me advice based on the fact that she knows my history. And I think that doesn't have to be, a professional. It can certainly be someone who's just a mentor or a friend.
Thank you again. We are sort of coming towards the end of our little conversation here, but thank you for being so open and so honest and so educational. I'm sure that everyone on the call is getting so much out of it. What does the next stage of life look like for you? What are you most excited about? What's on the horizon that you just can't wait to sink your teeth into?
You don't have to thank me at the end of every question, Jake. It's okay.
Well, I just think you're doing a great job.
What's next for me? I've got a few things on the radar. I've got a book coming out next year, which, before this call started, Jake and I were sort of chatting and catching up after a year between the last time we probably spoke. And, if anything, in terms of perspective and understanding that every situation or, adverse moment has an opportunity. And it certainly is a catalyst for me to actually dive into some of the other work that I'm passionate about, because primarily what I was focused on almost 2 years ago now was speaking and sharing my story and getting out in front of people. And when that all got taken away, you have to change your approach. And I think for me, it's given me a whole heap of perspective about how important it is for us to obviously connect with people. And blink your eyes and 2 years has gone down the drain and you haven't seen your friends. It certainly gives me a really hopeful perspective that once things do open up, once we do get to connect back with people, once community sport returns, which I'm a massive proponent for, once we can do things relatively normal, that we're gracious for the opportunities that we've missed over the last couple of years. And there's no political side of or element of this that I want to address at all, other than the fact that, you know, moving forward together as a community that looks after each other is certainly in the best interest of everyone, and certainly something that I'm a massive advocate for.
Amazing. Well, maybe I won't say thank you for a 15th time, but we do really appreciate your time as always. We love when you whip the mustache out too. We're getting nice and close to Movember. So on behalf of everyone on the call, I'll say it one more time. Thank you so much for giving up your time, Nasir, as well. Both such amazing speakers, and to have you both present on this call. I know that there'll be so many people who get so much out of it. So thank you, Tom, and thank you, Nasir, as well, in the same breath for continuing to start those conversations, which we know are so important.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.
So moving through now, and it's now my job to help you guys understand some of the work that Movember do, and know why, after such an amazing fundraising campaign last year with people all around Australia, barbershops starting conversations, which we just know is such a key element to bettering men's health, is knowing that when guys sit in the barber chair, they feel a bit more relaxed. They have this connection with their barber, which I'm sure that people on the call can definitely resonate with. And to help you guys understand, you know, we hear so often, check in on your mates. And at Movember, we really want to help you guys understand how you can better do that, how you can have more effective conversations. And to take it back half a step, I wanted to help you guys understand why Movember does what we do. And as I said earlier, we're celebrating our 18th year this year of Movember, and continuing to grow from a small Australian-based movement to right around the globe. And we focus on three key cause areas, and they are mental health and suicide prevention, because 3 out of every 4 suicides are men, and we lose 7 Australian men to suicide every single day currently. Prostate cancer, because 1 in 6 Australian men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer by the time they're 85. And a little takeaway on prostate cancer is to understand when you might be in the hitting zone, when you might become far more at risk. And it might not be you on this call now, it might be a dad, a brother, an uncle, whoever it might be, to be having that conversation with your GP once you're 50 years of age, or if there's a family history of the disease, or if you are of African or Caribbean descent, have that conversation at 45. And our third, and certainly not least, key cause area is testicular cancer. We expect that around 800 young men in Australia will be diagnosed with testicular cancer each year, and it's the most common cancer in young men. And as part of my role at Movember, thanks to the amazing support we do get from our community year in, year out, is that I get to go to schools and have conversations with young Australian guys and help them understand their testicular health, and know that they are in the hitting zone for this. You know, that as early as 14, 15, getting diagnosed with testicular cancer. As young guys, we sort of think that, you know, that the world of cancers doesn't really affect us, but the reality is that it does. And there's a 98% survival rate that's linked to diagnosis of testicular cancer, but it still means that there's guys out there leaving it too long, thinking it's too awkward, not having that conversation with their GP around their physical health, to make sure that they're okay. And we'd certainly recommend having a medical professional in your life that you trust to have these conversations with, and a GP is an excellent place to start. And something to mention too is that obviously, you know, when we've heard from both Nasir and Tom, and we're talking about some really serious topics here, that if something we do talk about tonight does bring up any unexpected emotions or reactions, that's absolutely okay. And if you are keen to further that conversation, there's a whole database of support networks that are available right now at movember.com/get support. It's a bit of just houses a whole lot of varying ways that you might need to further the conversation and get some professional support as well, if you did feel like you wanted to further the conversation. I've got a couple of slides that I want to talk you through now, and I know that you know, Zoom fatigue and slides and all those sort of things do weigh on people, and so I'll try not to drag on too long, but I wanted to help you guys understand where Movember sit in how we work with some of those organisations. So hopefully you can see that one there. We work in prevention and early intervention, and we focus on scalable prevention and early intervention programs through a gender lens to reduce the percentage of men that reach the crisis point. So I'm sure everyone's aware of organisations like Headspace, Lifeline, Beyond Blue, and they're all doing such amazing work and have never been busier than they are at the moment, supporting so many people. But what we do at Movember is we operate in informal community care, education and health promotion sessions like we're having tonight. We're trying to get to guys before they reach that crisis point, equip them with the tools and the ability to be able to have conversations with the right people in their lives. So the amount of people that go to those organisations is reduced, and we can slowly help guys feel better about themselves and understand their physical and their mental health more. And through the amazing funding that we receive year on year and working with amazing organisations like Barbiere is that we know that we can have a tangible impact and we can reach more men and we can have these conversations. And we know that conversations save lives. And one thing, we're a digital tool that we're able to release throughout 2020 is Movember Conversations. And that QR code there will take you straight through to the Movember Conversations tool. And it's an interactive tool that lets you plug in conversation responses and practice having meaningful conversations. And I know it's something that I thought that when this tool was first released, I do these sort of talks all the time. I get to have conversations with our programs team, the community, all sorts of amazing cup-filling conversations that I get to have. And I thought I'd be an absolute pro at this. And just knowing that the subtle differences that in your responses in conversations can have on how that conversation flows and how you can best support a friend, a family member, it might be a client, to be able to go through and use this tool, which is free to anyone in the community. You can grab that QR code, use conversations.movember.com and use that choose your own adventure and practical guidance to understand how your responses might change the flow of a conversation and how you can best and effectively communicate with your mates too. So what are we doing? So last year, as we said, the Barbiere Challenge raised over $22,000 for Movember, which is absolutely incredible. And it united barbershops from all over Australia. And this is the current tally at the moment, which is amazing, seeing as that we're not even halfway into October. So another QR code, which I know that we're very well versed in these days, that will take you straight through to, and also the QR code behind me, will help you sign up to Movember as well. Didn't realise there was so many QR codes in this, but to be able to come together in a fundraising challenge like this and be able to see leaderboards and see what other people are doing in the same, like-minded people in similar industries, and starting conversations and raising some money. Like, obviously raising money for Movember is amazing and we love it, but knowing the power that barbershops do have to be having direct conversations with guys and with their clients and helping them understand and know how best to be checking in with one another. That's the real value here, is understanding how you can best check in and communicate with the people that you're coming into contact with every day, and knowing that in New South Wales and Victoria, there may be a flurry of people heading to barbershops. I know that, and hairdressers. I know that I'll be banging on the door as soon as we can. Don't worry about that. But to understand that there is real power in the way that you can communicate with people, and something I was really able to take from Tom there is that you don't need to have the answer. You don't need to be able to solve all their problems. It's just about sharing and about understanding how powerful those conversations can be. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting involved with Barbiere. It's been so great to work with this team. They're so passionate about the men in their lives and ensuring that everybody gets this message across, and that throughout their network, they want as many people as possible to be taking their role in men's health really, really seriously. So thank you all for jumping on tonight. We do have a little bit of time left. I'm going to throw over to a member of the Barbiere team just to bring us home. But I do want to say a huge thank you. And if there was any follow-up questions or or anything like that, feel free to get in touch with me. I know Nasir said as well that you can always slide into his DMs and have a chat as well. But if there was anything Movember specific you wanted to learn a little bit more about or run some ideas past me, there's a few different ways you can get involved. It's not all about growing a mo. We obviously love that. But you can move for Movember. You can run or walk 60 Ks across the month. And that's for the 60 men we lose each hour, every hour around the world to suicide. You can host an event, be it virtual or in a COVID safe way. You can bring people together and have a bit of fun as well while raising some money for Movember. Or you can mow your own way. You can set yourself a massive challenge and undertake it. We see people doing incredible things. Some people are running those 60 kilometres all in one day, which is not on my list of things to do. But the bigger and the crazier those challenges are, we know that it really resonates with community. So it doesn't all have to be about growing the mo. There's heaps of ways for mo bros and mo sisters alike to get involved in Movember. So that's just about enough for me. I'll pass you over to a member of the Barbiere team now who are going to bring us home.
Thanks, Jake. I will be doing the move for Movember. I won't be doing 60 Ks in one day. I don't think that's possible for me, but hopefully get there over the month. Just on behalf of the Barbiere Company, I'd really like to thank everybody for coming today and attending. Thanks to Tom and Nasir for sharing their stories. I know it's really important to be able to share your personal stories with other men and show that it's great to open up and also start those conversations. As part of our Movember campaign this year, as Jake said, the Barbiere Challenge on the Movember page, we're really trying to beat last year's amount raised. It'd be amazing if people could get on board with that. You'll receive an email after this event where it has all the links to sign up for fundraising, and also we've got some merch packs as well, so you can put Movember inside your barbershops and really start those conversations. So just once again, I know we've said lots of thank yous tonight, but thank you to everybody for coming. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Nasir. And I hope you all have a great night. Thanks, guys.